Hi everyone, it's Steve to show you what is in a master network technician slash installer slash repairer's tool bag. Now I used to for years carry around a like a hand satchel, almost like a duffel bag. But about 2 years ago I switched to a backpack. So this is a custom leather craft backpack style toolkit. Okay, and now it looks like a backpack, but it's actually a little different because it's got some special compartments inside that are specifically designed for carrying tools. All right, so one of the reasons why I really like a backpack as opposed to kind of your traditional style tool bag is that it's a little less noticed. So I work in retail locations and sometimes I work in malls. And one of the things that happens is when you walk in with the toolkit is the mall security tends to descend on you and try to find out what you're doing, why you're there, and then they'll make you go to security and so forth. But the backpack looks a little bit more like you're just a college student stopping in to visit the Apple store. Okay, so let's see what's inside my network toolkit. Now, I've been doing this kind of work since the mid-90s, so over the years I've learned what's really important to have on me, and that's a key phrase right there, what's important to have on me. All right, there's going to be people, I get this from time to time, that say, well, you don't have this, you don't have that. Listen, folks, I got an entire truck full of other things, okay? This is just the core of what I bring with me when I'm going in to fix a problem or do a small installation. If I need other things, it's in the truck. But this is what I found over the years that really matters. Okay, so you open it up, and inside there's all these compartments. Right, and that's what makes this backpack special, the CLC backpack. All right, now let's get some of the big items out of the way first. I've got my Lineman's test set. I know I said I'm a network technician, and that's true, but I still end up doing a lot of voice. You just can't get away from it, so I need this to test analog circuits. All right, I've got a keyhole saw, which is used for cutting drywall, either because I need to make a hole to put a cable inside, or because I need to cut a square so that I can put in a network jack. This is really, really handy. I figured this out years ago, is to have a very small little tackle box with miscellaneous items in it. I've got some redhead splicers. I've got some RJ45 crimps, some RJ11 crimps, miscellaneous screw types. I've got some wire nuts, a couple of test jacks. I've got some loop back jacks. I've got some bigger screws. Really, this is just going to be personal. Whatever you find saves you from having to run back out to the equipment, out to the truck for something. And this is especially true when you're working up in office buildings where, it takes you 15 minutes to get from the truck into the place where you're actually doing the work. Having a small little subset of your supplies can be really handy. Now let's see. I've got. Let's focus on the core things, and we'll get a little more auxiliary after that. Punch down tool, 66 blade, and 110 blade. Okay, that's a Harris Dracon. Used to be just Harris, but now it's actually now I think it's Fluke. Fluke makes these, but it comes with a detachable little socket there for different types of bits that you might need. 66 being the most common for voice, and 110 being the most common for. See if you can kind of see that outline there. The most common for dealing with 110 blocks, which is more, and also for punching down Cat 5 and Cat 6 jacks. What else is core? Snips. Now, I've called these scissors, and unfortunately, if you call these scissors in front of the wrong people, they'll laugh at you. These are referred to as snips. Okay, I still call them scissors sometimes, but they're snips. And they're a little bit different than regular scissors. They're heavier, and they're specifically designed for cutting through, 24 and 22 gauge copper wire. They're also handy for making, when you need to strip wire, you can kind of make a graze over the edge of the wire, then peel off the jacket. All right, so those are my snips. My reversible screwdriver, very, very handy. These are so cheap too. Get these at Home Depot for like $5. The little shaft comes out of there, and then you've got, a Phillips and a flathead big, and a Phillips and a flathead small. And you know what else is really cool about these is you can take the shank and you can put it into the end of a screw gun or speed drill, battery operated speed drill, and that can be really, really handy when you have to do a lot of work where you're, you know, like deinstalling things where you're taking out a lot of screws. All right, what else do we got here? Crimp tool, crimp tool. So this is a Klein. It does RJ45 and RJ11. Did you know that the term RJ45 is actually incorrect? That the real term for an 8-pin plug, like say this, is actually referred to as an 8P 8C, which stands for 8 position 8 conductor. All right, but we still call it RJ45. Okay, so you got a crimper so that you can crimp those ends onto cables. Let's see, flashlights. Well, you can never have enough flashlights in the business. So I actually have 3. I've got a kind of a wide area battery operated fluorescent light. I'm not going to turn that on because that'll blind you. I've also got a regular old incandescent mag light, which is good. And these, you know, these are not completely interchangeable. There's things that this can do that this doesn't, and vice versa. Sometimes when you really focus on something far away, the candescent is really good. But when you need to just kind of light up an area in general, this can be kind of good. But I also have this, which is a headlamp. And, you know, you just wrap it around your head, almost like you kind of look like Rambo with this thing. It's like a headband wrapped around your head. And then you turn this thing on and it lights up there. When you're working on the ceiling or when you're working down under a counter and it's dark, this can be very, very handy. It's going to look silly. You're going to feel silly wearing it at first, but it is a big time saver. All right, let's see here. Got my cable tester. Now, this is not my cable certifier. That's a different thing. Okay, again, remember, just because I'm showing you this bag doesn't mean this is everything that I have. I've also got a truck full of things, and maybe we'll do another video on that some other time. This is just a basic continuity checker. What this does is you take a cable, say for instance a patch cable, and you plug one in into the RJ45 or 8P8C port there, the other one into the remote tester, and you turn it on, and what it does, oh, looks like my battery's dead. But what it does is it goes through here and it lights up all these lights in order, 1, 3, 4, 7. And what it should do is if it's in order and they're all green, then that means that the cable is okay and that all the wires are terminated properly on both ends. On the other hand, if you get reds or if these start flashing out of order, that means you might have a reversal in your tip and ring, or you might have mixed up your 568A and your 568B termination patterns. Okay, so that's my cable connector. A cable certifier is a different thing entirely. A cable certifier is used to check the ability of the cable's quality to handle either a Cat 5e or Cat 6 specifications. It's a very expensive instrument. I've got that in a case in my truck. This is just a little, I don't know, I think it was like a $25 test tool I got at a big box hardware store. Let's see what else. Oh, got my multimeter. This is really handy. Tell you where this is handy a lot is in checking data circuits sometimes. You know, when you're checking analog circuits, you could just put your test set on there and you open it up and see if you got dial tone. But this is handy when you want to check a data circuit to see if there's even any voltage on the line. Because if you're dealing with a 56K or a T1 circuit, you should find some voltage on there, usually in the neighborhood of about 48 volts. And so that'll tell you if the circuit's completely dead or if there's at least something there and maybe the problem is more on a layer 2 or above type of problem. Also, these are great if you're working on speakers. Again, when you're a network technician, you get roped into doing all kinds of things. You're working on networks, but you also get sucked into working on speakers and working on telephones. And, you know, after a while, it gets to be where the joke is, you know, if it's got a low voltage wire attached to it, you're going to work on it. So that's really handy for that. I keep some wire ties and also some Velcro. You know, it's interesting. When I first got into this business about 20 years ago, pretty much everything that needed to be, you know, tightened up or policed up or gathered up was done with these plastic wire ties. The problem with that is that they tend to kind of pinch the wire a little too much. And the other thing they do is is that you can't take them back off. You have to cut them and put new ones on. The trend in about the last 10 years now has been towards Velcro. And Velcro is really nice because obviously, you know, it self-fastens. but it can also be undone. And because it's wider, it tends to have less trauma on the cable that you're bunching up with it. So I keep both. A little socket set. I don't have to use this a lot, but when I do, it's really handy. I got both metric and English sockets in there. I got some extensions. I got a ratchet, and I've also got like a little flexi thing, which is kind of handy for getting to something that you can't directly get straight at. I got some screw bits in here of various types, Allens, hexes, and some Phillips. So that's my. I don't reach for this a lot, but you know, you end up in these situations sometimes where you know what's between you and what you're trying to work on involves you know some 7/16 bolts. Then you know you got to have what you got to have. Allen wrench, okay, that comes up a lot, especially when you're dealing with like access points, like wireless access points. A lot of times they have these little Allen heads that they use to kind of secure the access point, almost like a kind of like a safety or a anti-theft mechanism. And so I have to have an Allen for that. Let's see. Oh, tone probe. Now, this is my Fluke tone probe. I used to have one of those. I can't remember the name brand of it, but it was kind of a red and gray, and I lost it. So I got this one. But what I don't like about it is that the tip is kind of fragile. So what I do is in this little side pouch here is I actually keep the tip in here, and so when I need it, then I just have to go in here and find the tip, which always kind of slows me down a little bit. And then I just insert the tip, and off I go. Here it is. Take the tip, put it in there. Because the problem I was having before is that when I left the tip on, is the trauma inside the backpack was breaking this off. So I actually had to super glue that, and then I just put this in as needed. So I might get another one. This is okay. I mean, Fluke is kind of a leader. And this one's certainly not, there's nothing wrong with it, but I kind of preferred my old one. They used to make them with metal tips, which was kind of, remember those old yellow ones? If you've been in this business for a while, you might remember the old yellow ones with the metal tips. The carbon-filled ones are better now because they don't short out the pins when you're toning things or checking for tone. So since we're on that, let's talk about the toner. So Progressive, that was the name of the company that made that other tone probe I had. So this is my toner. For those of you who don't know, a toner is used to create a noise on the line so that you can help identify an individual cable. So what you do is you plug this into a jack, or you put these on a couple of wires, or if you're dealing with telephones, you tip and ring, and then you turn it on, and then it makes a noise. And as you get closer to it, it gets louder. So that's what we use to help identify wires from one point to another point. Also, I keep strapped to it a couple of RJ45 and RJ11 couplers, because oftentimes you have to tone out a jack, but you can't get to the jack, but you can get to the line cord that was there, where you can just put the coupler on, and then you can take the line cord and plug it in the other side of the coupler. Okay, so that's my toner. Can't live without that or the tone probe. Let's see what else I've got here. I've got a set of really tiny little needle nose for obvious reasons, but I've also got a great big monster pair of Electricians Pliers. So this is great when you have to cut some really thick wires, or if you have to cut a bunch of wires. Even on occasion, I'll cut small screws with this. Like if I've got, say, like a little maybe 1/8 inch screw that's too long for what I need, I'll actually cut the end of it off and kind of file the edge off of it, and it trims it to where I need it. It's also good that these are insulated, so sometimes I need to cut things and I'm not completely sure what the voltage is in there, if it's set off or not. I got the insulation to protect me. Now, a little caveat there to protect myself: you should always do your due diligence to make sure that you're exercising all possible safety precautions when dealing with electricity. I am not a licensed electrician, not pretending to be, so just having insulated grips is not necessarily a completely safe deterrent against electrocution. Here's a little tool I made all by myself. It's a screwdriver that I filed down so the end is sharp, and it's got a hammerhead top on it. Now, I don't have my hammer in this bag because I rarely reach for it, but it is on my truck. And what I do use this for a lot is in the ceiling. When you're getting ready to put in a new cable and there's no entry point in that aluminum stud that goes across the top of a wall, I'll put this right on top of that aluminum stud, and I'll bang it with a hammer until it pierces it, and then I'll wiggle it around until I get like maybe say a 1/2 inch or a 1 inch hole in there, and then that. So basically, it's my hole creator. That's what that's for. Obvious reasons. Adjustable wrench. Same reason why I have a socket set. Normally you don't associate this with network work, but unfortunately, there are oftentimes structures in your way from what you need to get to work on the matter at hand. Little tiny level. Don't use this much for repairs, but I do use it for installations. Okay, so a lot of times you're hanging a cabinet on the wall, you want to see if it's level before you hang it up there. And an outlet checker. Okay, something's not working. Well, is it burned up? Is the power supply bad? Is the adapter bad? Well, first, let's find out if we even have electricity in the wall. So that I use that one a lot. This is, believe it or not, a cabling tool. What this is it's a bunch of jet line with a heavy little kind of tear-shaped weight at the end. This was just like a piece of hardware I found. But it weighs, just enough. It weighs about like a little less than a golf ball. And what's really nice about it is that it's round, so it kind of resists getting stuck. So here's why. So I unravel this thing, this lump of string, and I can throw this through the ceiling, or I can throw this up over rafters that I can't reach with my ladder. And if I don't get where I'm going, a lot of times you have to pull it back. Well, the fact that it's tapered and rounded prevents it from getting stuck on things as I'm pulling it back. Because if you've ever worked in ceilings, you'll know that they're full of all kinds of little obstacles and nooks and crannies and places for your strings or wires to get caught on. So the fact that it's rounded makes it more suitable for navigating things in the ceiling without getting stuck. So what I do is I throw that. This is about like maybe 12 foot of jet line. Then once I've successfully made the path that I need, I take and wrap this around a cable or tape it on there, and then I can use it to pull my cable to where I need it to be. Pliers, just regular old pliers. Those are kind of self-explanatory, what you might use those for. Inspection mirror, very important, very important. So you cut a hole in a wall, but things aren't working out the way you want. You're trying to drop a wire down the wall, and you can't see what's going on. So this is nice because you can put this into the wall, and then you can shine a flashlight from the outside against the face of the mirror, which then shines the light up into the wall, and you can see what's going on in that wall. You can see if there's something in the way, or you can see maybe where your string is or where your wire is, and you just need to make a little bit of adjustment up top to get it to where you need it. I use this guy a lot, especially when I'm doing cabling. An assortment of small screwdrivers. Always got to have little small screwdrivers, very important. Little razor box cutter. I don't use this quite so much, but I do get in situations, especially with installations, where you get a lot of boxes and you need to cut the boxes open. Something I'm not showing you here that I always have on me is a Leatherman tool, which is a multi-tool. I would not leave home without my Leatherman tool. The days when I forgot my Leatherman tool at home have been bad days. An extra line cord. You just never know when that might be handy for something. So it's always, in fact, actually having a patch cord is handy too, but a lot of times I always have the laptop bag with me too, which has a patch cord in it. Okay, one of the little side pouches here, electrical tape. Electrical tape is used not so much for wrapping up splices, although it is for that, but it's more likely used for cabling, because when you're pulling cable and you need to wrap the cable or fasten the cable to like that jet line I showed you earlier, or you need to wrap it to a pole or something like that. That's what the tape is for. And some jumper wire. Now, rather than carrying around a big thing of jumper wire, which they normally come in spools like that big, I just took a little empty tape spool, metal tape spool, and just took off about 100 feet of jumper wire and wrapped it on there. And you know what? That does me just fine. In fact, the last time I refilled this was a year ago. So I just don't use a lot of jumper wire. Now, if you're someone who works on voice circuits on a regular basis, this probably wouldn't cut it. But for the amount of jumping I have to do, cross connects I have to do, that works just fine for me. It doesn't take up a lot of space and saves me from having to walk back out to the truck. Let's see, got a little zipper pouch here. In here, I keep just really little things that would either get tangled up or just so small that I'm worried that I wouldn't be able to find them. I do have a little set of clip-on jumper leads. These are great for 66 blocks. And then it's got a modular at the end. That can be really nice when you need to take, like, say, maybe you're troubleshooting a telephone and you're not sure if the wire's any good. You can unplug the phone from the jack and then plug this in the back of the phone and then go directly to the source, the 66 block, and clip onto the 66 block and see if the phone comes up. So there's some other things you can do with that. Let's see. And this is almost just kind of like a junk drawer. I've actually got a little tripod in here. You know, that there's times I get in situations where actually I have to take a picture or something with myself in it. So that's kind of like my selfie tripod, if you will. Let's see. A little bitty screwdriver. Some little sticky notes things. This is handy sometimes for leaving notes for other people. You know, a lot of times we do things and maybe the next person's going to have a hard time figuring out what we do. It's always nice if you can leave a note to say, hey, listen, you know, this green pair is bad, or, you know, this wire doesn't go where you think it goes. Saves the next person from going through a lot of headache. And you know what? It's like karma, you know, you get what you sow. All right. On the side pouch over here, little magnetic reachers. Those can be really handy when you're trying to, you know, you drop a screw down somewhere and you need to reach down in there. I've got two of them. One's little and tiny and one's a little bit herkier and longer. One's got a stronger magnet, one's got a weaker magnet. Pen and a stylus. I actually use an iPad now for all my work orders. So I actually hand people the iPad with the stylus and they sign on my iPad. So I have to keep the stylus here because a lot of times I'll leave it on the car and I forget. All right, so front pouch, we're almost done. Front pouch is kind of like my wires department. All right, I actually have another flashlight in here. I'm not sure why I got that up there, but I've got a charger for my iPad. I can't tell you how many times I get in situations where, you know, especially towards the end of the day, my iPad starts dying, phone starts dying. I got a charger for my phone. I've also got a charger for my Bluetooth. And so I find a lot of times that if I have these chargers with me, rather than leaving them on the truck, because once you're in the middle of something, you can't leave, you know, but your phone starts dying. You don't have time to say, hey, I need to get off the phone for 15 minutes so I can run down and get my charger. So I keep my iPad charger in here. I've also got my Cisco console cable. And for some strange reason, I keep coins in here. I think it's because sometimes I get hungry and I want to have coins for snack machines. You know, because in this business, sometimes you get stuck working until 8, 9, 10 o'clock on projects. So I've also got a car charger in here, an extra Ethernet cord. And that about sums it up, okay? So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you found it informative. And, you know, I have to reiterate, because there's always somebody who's got to make some comment, usually a scathing comment, about why don't I have this and why don't I have that. This is only what I bring with me initially. I've got an entire truck full of other things. Okay, I've got fish tapes. I've got, you know, those little fiberglass poles. I've got all kinds of supplies. I've got cable. You know, so just because you didn't see it here doesn't mean I don't have it. These are just the things that I elect to bring with me when I'm first walking onto site, either for a small repair. Either for a repair or for a small installation. Okay, thanks for watching.